there's a new issue every once in a while that nobody can figure out.
You can't assume anything.
Yeah, I mean, these things that run on, actual software, not firmware, are scary. We had an experience today that, well, it wasn't an experience, but it's kind of like routine, more or less. Stupid shit happens, right? But we had an experience where we were hooking up some new gear to listen to in the other room there, and we couldn't get sound out of the system. And it's like, well, I just used this stuff at home, these pieces, DAC, amp, worked fine at home, bring it in here, we got no sound. And we're going through the typical things, the iPad's playing music, streaming Tidal, and and everything's hooked up, and the switches are all set, input. The DAC says it's receiving a signal, but we don't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this all worked before in separate rooms. The iPad was in one room, the gear was in another room. We put it together, and it doesn't work. And here we are. There's three of us sitting there. All three, not you, but anyway, there were three people in the room, all experienced with hooking gear up, and we're all scratching our asses. We're trying different inputs. Maybe it's the USB cable. Let's reset the frickin' iPad. And what was it?
The volume was down on the iPad.
Yeah. How does this shit happen? We were just using the iPad an hour ago, and the volume was fine. And this is a dumb shit you run into where it's the simplest things, the simplest freaking things, right? And could stump anybody, And
it happens all the time, surprisingly.
Yeah, and we don't write the software. Who the hell knows why the iPad? We concluded that you opened the Tidal app, which it wasn't using Tidal before, and we don't know if it starts muted or what, but the volume was down.
It was playing on a different app, and the volume was all the way up then.
Yeah.
And I thought that app was configured to not even have a volume control.
I wouldn't think it would matter.
But apparently it has a volume control, and it somehow was all the way down when it was all the way up before, among other factors.
Of course, we'll excuse the possibility that somebody hit the button and didn't realize it, but still, the point is like we're going through everything just assuming that it wouldn't be the source of the iPad because it was just playing.
When the DAC said it was playing.
Right.
Yeah, the DAC sees the signal.
It's like, well, there's definitely audio coming.
The clock's ticking on the line going, it's playing something.
Right. It helps it was a complicated assembly with like a bunch of cables
there
and stuff.
There were four
there
pieces.
Were a lot of issues potentially there.
Multiple input selectors and all that stuff. But once you went through all that, it still didn't make any sense.
Well, I guess it comes down to, in particular, when there's multiple people hooking things up, you can't assume anything.
That was the problem here. If the same guy to disconnect everything hooked it back up, probably wouldn't have mattered because they wouldn't have gone to Tidal. The guy would have used whatever was on there.
Right.
But no, someone else
among
changed
other
the
factors.
app.
This happens a lot at shows, though.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when we used to set up the larger room at in Colorado, RMAF, and we would have a bunch of different setups, 4, 5 setups. And inevitably, it's always a mad dash to try to slam it all together. And you would run into these issues, right? It's the stupidest things. And you say it out loud, and people go, oh, of course I would have recognized that. But inevitably, time and time again, there's a new issue every once in a while that nobody can figure out. And we've had a bunch of times where we had an issue with a new thing that we never used before. And the manufacturer comes over, inevitably thinking, oh, these guys are a bunch of dummies. They obviously can't figure it out. And they can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So it seems like these issues could stump the best of us.
Yeah. I mean, powering things down and up is pretty much, once you've gone through all the settings, it's like, all right, let's just reset everything. It's maybe something locked up here, right? So that's usually the default. Unplug it, actually really power it down, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the worst I remember at a show is someone brought a computer that they built that they were going to host, and this was like 2008, so it was like before all this current stuff was out, and he didn't have a monitor or anything for it. Oof. So he just like assuming, all right, it's booting up, hopefully it's booted at some
that's
point.
The worst case scenario.
It was like, that was terrible.
Yeah,
but it was like,
it was like a freaking prototype or something.
Yeah, that was not
This is a music player computer type
It was just a computer, but it was before all like the streaming stuff that you got now. And hopefully it's booting and working. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these things that run on, actual software, not firmware, are scary, where back in the while, you weren't really dealing with this as much back in the day as we were, but you had guys actually building this stuff, they'd put a PC in a box.
Software-driven solutions.
Yeah, and it would, like he said, it would set up to boot off the hard drive, and it should work.
Right.
But invariably, as computers boot up, they don't always boot up.
Of course.
And there's no display because it's a box that they stuck this computer in a standard rack, standard audio case, and with digital ins and outs and a power cord, and people just assume, I turn it on, it's going to work, and invariably
Most of the time it does.
Yeah.
See, there's actually more to that story though, because we were setting up and they already plugged it in, and that was before we plug everything, all at one time, that one strip. And I'm like, why is this plugged in over here? Because I didn't know what they were doing over there, and they plugged the computer in already, and it was booting up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Do you just unplug the computer?" He's like, "Oh, now it's going to reboot in safe mode," and it's like a whole problem. Like, it's like, we're looking to find a keyboard and no monitor. Just assuming, all right, I got to hit F1. I don't know.
Yes, there's a mistake of the guy that made the thing.
It's not a good
first of all,
system.
don't even put a power cord on something like that till everything else is ready to go. You know what I mean?
That was the problem.
You mean you can't just unplug this thing? It's like,
Right.
Yeah. So
I always cringe when I see Windows-driven solutions in industry.
yeah.
And curiously enough, we had a CNC machine that ran Windows. I didn't know at the time, but it ran its little software on top of Windows.
With the Mazak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had issues.
Yeah.
Windows issues,
Yeah.
curiously
But
Wait,
enough.
did it have a virus?
It was
It
prone
did,
to
yeah.
it. It did, yeah, because the guy came in with we couldn't find it because
Yeah.
it ran custom software on a
Yeah, it was hidden.
you couldn't see
Yeah.
but the service guy has a dongle plugs in and he goes to service mode and runs.
But it was like every 10, 20 times you booted up, the CPU would be locked to 100% the entire time it was running. And there was no indicator for this unless you plugged a keyboard into a CNC and hit Control-Delete. But it would just be so slow, so unresponsive. And it would stop sometimes when it was moving between things and pause for a moment. I was wondering what was going on. Service tech came out. He couldn't figure it out either.
Yeah.
Figured out apparently the thing had a virus.
And the bitch is that thing wasn't even online. That means
Nope.
the virus came
No.
from another service guy
USB
who plugged in.
dongle.
Yeah, because
those guys always
couldn't have
come
got it
in,
from
yeah,
us.
plug their
which
keys
is even
in.
worse.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It's like there should be no way for this to be possible.
Yeah,
And those
right.
are the hardest things to diagnose,
Yeah.
obviously.
Sometimes you see those, it's just really obscure. But the overwhelming thing that I've noticed over the years is don't assume it's broken. Because it seems like the first resort for most people is, oh, it's not working, it must be broken. This thing that I just plugged in, that I changed, and now I'm not getting audio, probably is defective.
Yeah, the last thing in is usually get blamed.
Right.
Yeah.
And I found that it almost never is defective.
No, that's
Usually
true.
it's user error.
Yeah.
Usually don't resort to thinking it's broken, because you see that a lot. You think, oh, surely it's broken. How is it broken? I've seen people start opening stuff thinking, oh, it's broke. Let me fix it. Let me look and see what's going on, measuring voltages or whatever, right? But inevitably it's something's not plugged in or whatever. Something trivial. The volume's not up.
some damn not absolute, but minuscule setting
Yeah.
Yeah.
that isn't really worded to what you think it would do, and that's what it does. It's like okay, it's a toggle thing, on or off, or it's just the stupidest shit that causes it.
Well, I do notice when things don't work, the first thing, nobody even checks for power first. Everybody's like, oh, maybe the fuse blown. Everybody always thinks fuse
Yeah,
is
it's
first.
broken.
Yeah.
They don't even check if it's plugged in, right?
Yeah.
Go right to fuses, skip
Yeah.
if it's plugged in.
And it sounds stupid, but I've seen a few times now things were not plugged in. You expect, oh, I flipped the switch, it should turn on, but it doesn't turn on. And for whatever reason in your setup, you have like a wire that goes behind a bench or whatever, and you use this all the time for like floating tests and stuff like that. So you think nothing of it not having power, but you come to figure out there was a very rare situation where somebody unplugged it for whatever reason. It's always things like that, right? And there wasn't power. So it didn't turn on because it wasn't plugged in.
Yeah,
Good thing to check.
And if you're helping people over the phone troubleshoot and they tell you that the fuse is shorted, you might want to start from the beginning with that one. Is it plugged
Fuse is
in?
shorted.
Yeah, it's the fuse. Yeah, he said the fuse might be shorted. Oh, okay.
Well, that means it's good then,
Yeah,
right?
Right, exactly. So you know what you're dealing with right there. You're going to need to dumb it down a bit to the troubleshooting techniques.
It can be difficult over the phone. I've tried diagnosing
Yeah, it can
computer issues over the phone, and
Oh, yeah.
inevitably the assumptions you make are really what caused the issue.
Well, you
you
know what-
assume it's plugged in. You assume
Yeah.
the keyboard's plugged in because they
That's
say,
it.
"Oh, I hit a button and it didn't do anything." You don't ask, "Is the keyboard plugged in?"
That's
Yeah,
right.
and
But
it's
you
the
need
same
to.
with us too. Like even experienced people, like you manage
Yeah,
to
yeah.
glaze over the problem.
Something always
like you
causes
don't
it,
even
yeah.
see it. You know, it's kind of like when you're looking for that screw you dropped,
Yeah,
that
Oh,
tiny
yeah.
little screw under the bench,
right.
and,
it's
you
always
kn-
like
you
right
saw
there.
it
Yeah, right.
bounce. You know
Yeah.
where it went, and
Yeah.
you can't friggin' see it. It's right there.
That's
yeah.
right.
And it's that kind of situation that just gets you every time.
Yeah, we run into that in the shop all the time, actually, where it's like looking for a jig or whatever, and they're just sitting right in front of you the whole time.
It was
It's like,
3
how
inches
did I
away.
not? It's like, it's right there. Oh.
Yeah, there's some
You got to have another person.
there's
go.
some eye brain issue that occurs. It's almost like a
Well,
brain fart sort
It's
of thing.
probably that you see it all the time that you don't even see it anymore.
Yeah,
you
which
know?
is nuts.
Yeah.
Well, it's usually those situations where it's always a particular way, or this always worked before, or you wouldn't even consider it for some reason or another. And so you kind of like go past the possibility of it not being plugged in because that's ridiculous, right? Of course it's plugged in.
And that's right where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That assumption that it can't be that is probably
That's
what
exactly
it is.
what it is. Yeah.
Every time, almost every time. Especially the longer it goes on, the more it's something obvious. Almost always, because it's like, okay, I went through everything else. What the hell? The
Well-
volume control. Who would have thunk the volume control?
Right. It's a simple one, right?
Yeah.
Well, also these days with digital volume, back in the day you could physically see that the knobs turn.
Sure.
But now it's just
There could be like
goes
4
away.
different volume
That's the
controls in
problem.
some
There's too
systems.
many freaking knobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there
there's
isn't
no more
even a knob.
knobs.
It's
Yeah.
a digital knob that you can't see.
Everything's got a knob.
But they're like hidden.
DACs have remote controls. The amp's got a volume
Well, that's
control.
another
Yeah,
thing,
sometimes
yeah.
the DAC's like
Computer's
muted and it
got
doesn't tell
one.
you because somebody hit the button on the remote and then they turned it off and they didn't give you the remote. So you can't even see
we
that the
ran
DAC
into
was
that
muted.
once, yeah. We had a
You
DAC
need the remote, but you don't have
that
it.
we need the remote, and they didn't give us one.
Yeah.
It was like,
What a thing.
That is just whacked.
yeah.
I
Luckily,
mean,
they had another one.
The volume
but-
control is very common, though, and I suggest everybody check the volume control.
Check the
I had a guy
volume control.
a number of months ago. A guy was calling the phone, and I was going to over troubleshooting. He says, or it was either email or phone, I forget, but he was like, I just can't get enough volume out of this amp. And I think he bought
Yeah.
the amp from us, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty powerful amp. It shouldn't be an issue. I'm up at full volume, I swear. I'm thinking, well, either he's deaf, something's wrong with his hearing. He doesn't realize how loud this thing really is, right? And I'm like, and I asked him, I said, well, did you check the volume setting on a computer? Oh, yeah, it's full up. Well, I mean, after a week or so, he comes back to me, look, there's got to be something wrong here. It's not loud enough. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he emails, like a couple hours later, go, the volume on my computer was halfway. And I'm like, and I told him to check it. And he
Right.
didn't.
He
Obviously,
assumed.
either he thought he checked it or whatever, but it gets to a point where it's ridiculous the stupid shit we trip on as people on a
It
daily
happens.
basis. And it's just the simple stuff.
And it sounds stupid when you see other people doing it, but
Yeah.
we all still do it. So
Yeah.
maybe you do it less than you did,
Well,
but it still happens.
There is a reason why when you call, the cable company, PC, service or whatever.
No.
The
Dell computers.
Yeah, Dell.
Is it plugged in?
The first thing, there's a reason, because I'm sure that's 80% of it right there.
Probably, yeah.
Is it plugged in?
If the complaint is it isn't turning on, that's where I'd go.
Well, I remember someone had an issue with a computer and it was plugged in. And I asked them, because at this time it was funny, I asked them, is it plugged in? And they actually checked, yes, it was plugged in. But that outlet was dead.
I was going to say, is it
Oh,
plugged
yeah.
into something that something else is plugged
Did
into
you
that
plug a
works?
something
lamp in?
else
Does
in
that
there?
work?
Yeah, do you have a lamp nearby?
Right. So, yeah, no wonder it's not turning on. There's no
Something you
power.
can physically see that's on.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, you can't see an outlet's working or not.
No.
Right, by
There's always
looking at
all
it.
these like trivial factors. And sometimes it's just so easy to overlook. You spend a day troubleshooting this and you come to figure out, oh, it wasn't plugged in. The volume was down.
Yeah,
this was
breakers are
turned
a thing.
off.
Yeah, right into that once with the computer. Computer's not turning on anymore. It was just working earlier today.
Yeah.
Turns out, tripped the breaker.
You go right into troubleshooting mode. You start taking
How
it
do you
apart.
trip a breaker?
Oh, well, it's a whole thing.
Oh,
There's
okay,
a
okay.
hair dryer
Oh,
on and the
all right,
computer
okay,
on.
okay.
course.
Say, geez.
Yeah.
I used to do it when I was a piss pot.
Oh.
I'd take neon bulbs. I don't know, you guys probably don't know what neon bulbs are, but they used to use it for. They'd
They're
pop
pretty
a,
common.
they pop a hole in the front panel of a balloon, and the bulb was like this high. It just glowed. It ran on 110 volts, whatever, and
Yes.
with a series resistor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't put a series resistor in, when a neon bulb lights up, it goes to a dead short condition. When that plasma flows, the neon bulb is a dead short,
Well,
which is
low
why
resistance.
they put a series resistor in line with it, so it glows without drawing a lot of power. Well, that turned into a greatest toy because you could get these things in 10 packs back in the day at Radio Shack, right? You take a neon bulb and you plug it in the outlet direct, and it'd be cool because it'd glow really bright,
Yeah.
and then fry the lead on it, and then pop the breaker.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was beautiful. The bulb would never blow up, it'd never do anything, but it was. So yeah, that was one of the. It was that and creating arcs with solder. Did you ever do that with 110 volts?
Of course.
It's kind of scary. You need goggles. You need a full face mask.
Yeah, don't do this at home.
It just spits all over the place. Yeah, the stupid things
It
you
was
do
a
when you're
simpler
bored.
time.
Well, when
Well,
you're
some
bored,
people,
when you're bored in like electric class, and the teacher's
Yes.
talking, and what else you got to do? You got to play with the voltage.
Oh,
What can happen? You
really
blow
get
the breaker.
stepped up when you go to 240 then, though.
Yeah, I never played with that. That'd be bad. That's a bad idea. Yeah, that gets a little
It's a
hairy.
little worse.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we covered it.
Check the
Sure.
simple things first.
Yeah, and then,
Assume it works.
right, and then
Double check.
and if all else fails, check the simple things again.
Assume
The things
you're
you didn't
wrong.
check.
Yeah.
I think the underlying thing here is assume you're wrong,
Yeah, right.
because usually that's the issue.
With whatever premise you're on,
Whatever your assumptions are,
erase it.
it's wrong.
Start again. Yeah, come from the other angle.
Yeah.
Another angle.
You need another person. Fresh
don't-
eyes.
Well, I
that's
don't
the
know
thing.
about that.
See, that'll either help or not. Yeah, if you get someone else in there, they'll be like,
Sometimes
you
it makes
you
it
didn't even
worse,
plug this
actually.
in.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, it can make it way
Yeah,
worse.
right. Now you're both stumbling
It
on the
definitely
same
depends
problem.
on who you ask. Because some people, you get that other guy in there, and he's the type to, oh, let's take it apart. Oh, my God.
Yeah, sometimes.
Let's find the fuse.
Yeah.
Maybe it's shorted. On that note, we better get back to work because you know why? It's hump day.
Oh, wow.
Most people probably don't know what hump day is.
Oh, well,
No, I think
yeah.
that confuses people when you say
Wednesdays are jokingly hump days because it's the middle of the week. You're getting over the
Uh-huh.
hump. Yeah. Well, that is if you work Monday through Friday.
That's right.
that. Yes,
If you work 7 days a week, there ain't no hump day.
not so much.
Yeah, it's more of a flat line.
It's a line, yeah.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.